This is the EZ Pedaler X350. It's a 350 watt motor right there on the front wheel and a 3-speed internally geared Nexus hub in the rear. So they like to say it's all-wheel drive because you're, pedaling with the rear wheel. The motor's got the front. It's got pedal assist, 5 levels, pretty awesome, as well as a trigger throttle, so it's versatile. And the battery is actually mounted right there in that sort of combination down tube, top tube thing. It's extra thick. Feels pretty sturdy when I've been riding it, and one thing that sort of surprised me is how sort of leaned back that front fork and the stem are. It kind of creates more of a relaxed upright view, so you're not leaning too far forward, and that's sort of nice on a little folding bike like this, because as you can see, it's got 20-inch wheels. I believe they're 1.95 wide tires, which is a little bit wider. I mean, these are kind of your like hybrid, smooth in the center, a little bit of knobby going on there on the sides, so that you can kind of take this anywhere. But otherwise, there's a lot of like middle end kind of stuff going on here. You've got mechanical sort of a V brake on the front, and then you've got a roller brake with the Shimano Nexus hub in the rear. This doesn't stop quite as fast on the back brake, but given the way that I tend to use a folding bike, like, it's not as high performance. I mean, even just the pedaling position. If you look at this saddle, it's real big, it's soft, and that's a great thing, because again, the smaller wheels, they tend to like fall into bumps and be a little bit jerkier feeling than larger wheels, and the big tires help. But one other thing they've done to smooth the ride out is add a little suspension fork here, and it's real basic. I mean, there's no adjustability in terms of rebound. You can't lock it out or anything, and there's not a whole lot of travel. You can see I've been riding it, and there's a little bit of grease there. Maybe you've got an inch or something. It does help, but it also adds a little bit of weight. This is about 49 pounds. I just weighed it earlier, and considering that it's got front and rear fenders, and it's got integrated lights, that's not too bad. Even the rack here, this is max weight 25 kilograms. It's about 55 pounds, and it's got the standard spring latch thing. Standard size tubing, so you could probably hang panniers off of this, and it's even got a little blocker. So it's pretty well thought out. It's a folding bike. It's got the center kickstand so that it's going to be a little bit more stable. And frankly, the clamps and stuff, they feel pretty solid. This isn't like rattling around or flexing too much, but again, this isn't like exactly performance. But in terms of folding bike options, it's really not that bad. It's like $1,700. That's decent for a 350 watt geared motor design. Being geared, it's a little bit noisier. You kind of hear the whir, but it's lighter, it's smaller, it blends in. And then the battery, this is a 36 volt, 10.4 amp hour. That's, slightly above average, especially for a folding bike. It weighs just about 5 pounds, that battery pack. So you could potentially lighten this up a little bit if you needed to transport it. You would need tools to remove the wheels. They both have just standard bolts and stuff. So there's not a whole lot of quick release going on here, although the seat post does. And this thing's like over 500 millimeters in length, which is extra long. So if you're a tall person, I mean, look at that. You could really, dial this thing in for yourself. And then it's very wide, which gives it, makes it more sturdy. So it's 33.9 millimeters in diameter. I'm gonna go ahead and try to lock that up again. Whoop. So of course the pedals fold. You kind of pull that ring and then flip it up like that. The whole frame itself folds, but before I get there, I want to call out this nice plastic chain guide. It kind of keeps the chain on track. The chain is extra tight because there's only one sprocket in the rear, and again, that's because it's internally geared, so there's a lot less maintenance. It should just work. I've noticed that this one, it might need to be adjusted a little bit, because when I'm in the third gear, there was a little bit of kind of slipping going on, and that's probably just a tune-up thing. You can see there they've got like a little hex wrench adjustment. Once you've dialed it in, it should work just fine and kind of be maintenance free. That's one of the tenets of any great folding bike, is like it's gonna get bumped around, and the wires and everything, and I'll get to that in a minute. But you can see the plastic ring in here, this black thing, and it's got little magnets on it, and as those pass the sensor, that's what tells the bike to go forward when you're in pedal assist mode. And there are 12 of those magnets, so it's actually pretty responsive. There's a lot of feedback happening. It's it's a little less delayed than some of the older systems. So good stuff there. That's definitely an upgrade from some of the other older EZ Pedaler bikes. And now, as we were talking about the whole folding situation, one of the first things you do is disconnect this power cable right here. You can see that it's actually color-coded, which is kind of nice. And that's when you can start to unscrew the stem. Okay, I changed locations because I think school was getting out and there were a lot of cars going by with like gangster rap music, and I don't want to get flagged on YouTube. So back to the bike. We've got the folding stuff. Pedals, they fold up like this, and that kind of makes the bike a little narrower. And then there is, of course, the handlebars up here. You just twist this. You can see that little wedge coming out. And we've already unplugged that cable so that when it folds down, hopefully we'll have, there we go, I'm gonna try to gently fold it. There we go. Hopefully the wires aren't really pulling. Now, I have done this once before, and I noticed that when I did that, this wire down here came disconnected, and then I tried to use the bike and the throttle wasn't working, and I was like, what happened? Well, it's because this cable got disconnected, which goes to the motor. So keep that in mind. The very next step is to go ahead and take off this first little lever and then that second one. So it's a two-step process, should be more secure that way. And then you just kind of pick up the middle of the frame and try to fold it, which is a little bit difficult if you're holding a camera. Let's see, here we go. There we go. Getting the picture, hopefully. There. And this is the part, you can see down here the wires are kind of maybe stretching a little bit, and that could potentially disconnect up here. So just be conscious of that when you're folding. In fact, I may not fold it the entire way. You kind of get the idea. If you lower the seat, it gets pretty compact, but it's still a relatively heavy setup. I think just because it's a little bit overbuilt. And while I'm on that subject, like, look at this. They've got this extra, almost like a handle, and it's just really well reinforced. I think that's going to give this some strength, for larger riders or if you're carrying the extra weight. So there's the battery. You can see it just fits really nicely in that down tube. It's concealed, blends in, it's protected. There is a set screw right here that you can tighten if you hear the battery rattling around. I have loosened it because I wanted to take the battery out, and then I actually used the keys earlier to unlock the battery. Here are the keys right here. You can see there's like a metal pin, and that slides in and out of the actual frame. So even if someone was trying to get the battery out, if you've got it locked, they're going to have trouble with that. It's going to be physically locked into the bike. And the good news is it works whether it's locked or not. So kind of cool. So there's this little plastic tab here, kind of slide it out. I've been told that this has Samsung cells inside, which of course is nice to hear. That's high quality stuff. I can neither confirm nor deny it, but they should be of decent quality. This 36 volt, 10.4 amp hours. It's a 5-pound pack. Just nice that you could take this inside and charge it if you wanted to. That little white circular plug, that's where you would plug it into the charger, and you could store this inside if it was really, really cold or really, really hot in your garage or at the bike rack or whatnot. Or again, to lighten the load and just make this easier to transport around. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold this thing back up, and then we'll get onto a ride test. Okay, so it's all back to riding stock, and I wanted to show the charger. This is about 1.3 pounds and pretty lightweight. It's just plastic. There's no vents on it or anything, so I don't imagine it has a fan. It's probably pretty quiet. Just a standard wall outlet charger. Okay, and now the best part. The bike's all charged up. Everything's ready to ride. This is the new display panel. So this is a big step up for EZ Pedaler. You just press the power button for a couple seconds. It comes right to life. It is backlit, which is super cool. Makes it easy to use at night along with those headlights. And one of the things I've noticed is that it swivels. See, you can kind of go back and forth. That is going to reduce the glare while you're riding and just makes it a little bit just even easier to use. So I love that. This little CUR button, that turns on the lights, and you can see there's an icon there. You got the lights going in the front. And it looks like back here you might have to, there it is. It's separate. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. This one actually is powered off of its own little batteries, and it's independent. One downside of this is that you could easily park the bike, turn it off, and forget, and then this one's going to run out of batteries. Thankfully, it also has like a reflector pattern built in, so you've got some safety. And look, it's better than no lights, but maybe in the future they'll integrate that as well. So we're back up here to kind of the cockpit area. Turn off the light with that CUR button. And then, of course, there's down and up. And you know, up takes you through 5 levels of pedal assist with increasingly great amount of power and speed up to 20 miles per hour. And then you can go all the way down to 0, and that's when you use the throttle. The great thing about the throttle on this bike is that it overrides pedal assist. So at any time you can just give yourself some juice. And you know, I always love to say like, hey, easiest assist level, get an exercise, you're saving the battery, and then you hit a hill or wind and you tap that throttle. So it's really great, and it stays pretty well out of the way. I mean, it's fairly clean if you look at it. You know, this is your gear shifting mechanism over here. There are only 3 speeds, and they're kind of extreme. You know, there's 1, your pedals are spinning pretty fast, but they're great for climbing. 2, it's a big change. 3 is probably where I'd be riding most frequently, you know, as you get to higher speeds. Of course, that's a lot easier to do with motor power. I should also say that these brake levers, they've got integrated motor inhibitor, so anytime that you activate those, it's going to cut pedal assist. But with that 12 magnet sensor down here, you know, pedal assist is already pretty responsive, so it's nice. I feel like they've covered all the bases with this bike. You know, but it is a value bike. Like, you get on it, you can kind of feel like, okay, you know, the parts, the suspension fork and stuff, you're getting a value with this bike. And again, I really like the saddle. I was really impressed with that just because it is bumpy, and that takes a lot of the shock out of the ride. So here we've given the display a chance to fall asleep, which is nice. It kind of shuts itself off. Let's make sure that we've turned off the rear light. Yep, good. We want to make sure that that's not draining our battery. And let's hit the other sort of readouts. We've got our battery charge level indicator with 6 dots. That's pretty sweet. Speed, miles per hour there. And then if you tap the power button here, it goes from odometer to trip odometer to voltage to current, RM, miles, and then like a clock. So there's really a lot packed into this tiny display, and I do like it. You know, it's kind of got everything you need, and the handlebars are relatively flat. As you can see here, they don't really need to be swept back because the bike is relatively compact this way. I think it only comes in one size, and you know, we're looking at the silver one here. So I think that's a good quick overview. Let's just hop on it. I'm going to start out in throttle mode because you know, it's a powerful motor given the size, and with that rake, you know, kind of positioning the front wheel out a little further, I have noticed that there's a little bit of tire spinning if you're turning or if you're on, you know, gravel and stuff. Yeah, I'm only like 135 pounds, so maybe that's just because I'm not adding a lot of weight to the bike, and it's not a huge problem, but it makes me want to ease into the throttle a little bit more so that I don't get that squirrely feeling. Or pedal, that definitely helps. There we go. Kind of kick up the kickstand, but you'll notice it doesn't go too high. So if you're going over rocks or maybe off a curb or something, you could actually hit the edge of the kickstand. Kind of keep that in mind, just so you don't accidentally biff. Just turn it this way. I'm going to start by pedaling like normal. Okay, there we go. Gotten it up to 11, 12 miles per hour, just pedal only. I'm kind of going down a little hill. I'm going to turn it around and show you the throttle. Whoa. There we go. One of the other cool things is that you can shift at standstill, so I'm going to take it down to the 2nd gear, and then I'm just going to throttle it. There we go. We're at 15, 16. You know, we are climbing, so eventually you'd get to that 20 mile per hour mark, and it's all good. Let's do a little, it's kind of take it up to just the first level of assist and, you know, do kind of a response test for when I pedal. Watch the motor. So it is fairly responsive, you know, almost, you know, a little bit of delay, but after I stopped pedaling, the motor just, it stops. And of course you've got those brake levers to really kill it if you need to. So that's the EZ Pedaler X350. It's their folding bike, integrated battery, pretty good balance, definitely a solid price point. Again, at like $1,700 mark. For the full write-up on this and other EZ Pedaler electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. If you end up with this bike and you want to do a video response or, you know, comment on the forums, go for it. It's always great to have, you know, more information, and you know, I often have just limited time with these bikes. So, yeah. Cheers.